All right guys, so pretty basic video here. I wanted to talk a little bit about supplements. I've mentioned it briefly in other videos and podcasts I've done, but I've never specifically given my stance on it. And because clients do ask me what supplements they should take, I wanted to cover that here. Now, how often have you seen the following? So everyone, Brody here. I had a great idea recently when I was in the supplement shop. I was so tired of all these different proprietary blends, and I thought, man, why don't I just create my own supplement line? So click the link down below and you'll get your 15% discount for the next month for only $39.99 per month for the best pre-workout supplement on the market. We're gonna have the top ingredients and all the best doses for you, so don't miss out. Click down below. Now, we see that all the time, right? We've seen a lot of people on YouTube do that. We've seen people on Instagram do that. We see that all over the place. And it's not even necessarily wrong to do. I mean, they are right that a lot of these companies have proprietary blends, and that was really all the rage, years ago. And now we're starting to see more supplements where they really just tell you exactly what's in there. Now, you still have to trust that because these aren't really regulated that much. But for the most part, I think these are probably fine products. But really, is it worth it to spend the money on that when you can get these products individually, usually for much cheaper? And even then, is it worth it to buy them? So I'm not going to talk about any different brands here. Generally speaking, though, I don't recommend specific brands. I'll usually just say buy the products that you want in bulk. This way, you can add as much or as little as you want to have in there. So the list of supplements I would actually recommend is quite small. Creatine is, of course, one of the most studied, if not the most studied supplement out there. There are hundreds of studies on it showing that it is generally effective for most people. There is a subset of the population that it is not effective for. I would say I fall into that category. I've never really noticed anything when I've started or stopped taking it. But the way it works is by increasing the recycling of ADP to ATP, the energy substrate, so that you have more energy for these anaerobic activities. Now, if you are going to use creatine, it's almost universally agreed upon to just take creatine monohydrate. It is by far the cheapest. It's also been shown to be the most effective. They have other forms of creatine that are out there, but when they are compared, they are either equally effective to monohydrate or less effective. So again, just a very basic creatine monohydrate, extremely cheap, doesn't hurt to give it a shot. Next up that I would say is actually an effective supplement is caffeine. Now, this does not have to be in the form of a supplement. You can just have coffee, but the supplement form in powders and pills is extremely cheap, so it's really whatever works for you. You will be able to titrate the dose much more accurately with pills and powders, so you might want to go that route if you're experimenting. Basically, caffeine works as an adenosine receptor blocker, so adenosine gives you the feeling of fatigue. Caffeine blocks that, and so you don't have that fatigued feeling. Obviously, people would want to use this as a pre-workout supplement. I would say this is an effective supplement to try, especially if you have a lagging day or you wake up very early. I wouldn't really get dependent on it if you're constantly needing 400, 500 milligrams of caffeine every workout. Even 300 is a lot for some people. I would probably tone it down a little bit, but usually 200 as a standard dose is very effective for a lot of people. Really, those two are extremely well studied. They're generally recognized as safe. I think most people would be fine to try them. After that, there really isn't too much out there that I find very effective. For a while, HMB had a lot of hype around it. I really don't think it's really worthwhile. Beta-alanine is another very well-studied one. There was a lot of hype around it for a while. I don't see it recommended as much anymore. I think it can improve endurance activities, higher rep ranges. If you're doing power activities, it's probably not going to be as helpful for you. It's not going to hurt though, and it does create a tingling sensation which some people enjoy because it makes them feel like they are getting a benefit. Especially in some of these pre-workouts, they will have high levels of beta-alanine so that you can really feel the effect of the pre-workout. Citrulline is another supplement that's very well studied. It actually will increase arginine levels better than arginine supplementation itself. It will improve nitric oxide metabolism and has been shown to improve endurance in both aerobic and anaerobic activity. I don't really notice too much with it, and so I don't really recommend it to my clients, but if they're interested in taking it, again, it's not really going to harm anything, so I think it's fine to try and see if it benefits your workouts. And then there are the health supplements out there that might not necessarily directly help you in your bodybuilding and hypertrophy endeavors, but obviously we want to be as healthy as possible. So I think fish oil can be useful for some people. I think curcumin is a great supplement with a lot of studies behind it. Other than that, there's so many supplements out there. There's so many articles on what supplement is going to increase your lifespan or have this amazing benefit for you. I really just don't think it's going to make that much of a difference at the end of the day whether or not you take them. And that kind of brings my final point here, which is when we're talking about these supplements, yes, we do have studies showing that they're effective. However, effective doesn't necessarily mean it's worthwhile for you, depending on the cost to you. Now, if you have a lot of discretionary income, then that would be fine. You know, you don't mind blowing maybe $50 a month on supplements. A lot of these won't even cost you close to that much, and so it's really not a financial burden, but it is one more thing you have to worry about taking. Some of them can cause some GI distress, so you have to consider if it's worth it for you. I remember years ago on the forums, and somebody was saying how they were spending something like $200 a month on supplements, and I thought that was completely crazy. Even back then, when I was like 15 years old, I just thought that was so silly to be doing that, because even then, I think a lot of people knew that supplements should be exactly that, right? Supplementing what you're doing with your training, nutrition, sleep. And somebody had said to me, or not even to me, I just read it online, they were saying, well, you know, even if I only get 10% more from these supplements, it'll be worth it. Another person another time had said, if I only get 10 pounds or 8 pounds, it'll still be worth it. And I was thinking, like, what would possibly make you think that it's going to give you that much? 10% is a huge amount. If you put on 50 pounds of muscle over the course of your career, that's another 5 pounds from supplements. I really don't believe that you're going to have another 5 pounds of actual lean muscle tissue from these supplements. I mean, these studies are very short term most of the time. You know, when we see the effectiveness of creatine, we see that over this number of weeks, this group had a slight benefit over another group. But it's usually not that this group took creatine for years and this other group did not, but everything else was the same, and they compared the actual muscle mass increase. Because you have to consider what puts on muscle mass, right? It's a progression over time in the stimulus. So yes, if you go from maybe 135 on bench to 140 on bench because you took creatine, that's great. But over time, if you are still just maintaining 5 pounds above what you would have had without the creatine, then you're probably not actually adding that much more muscle over time. What I mean is, if you had a 135 pound bench and it would have gone to 195 pounds over some time frame, but with creatine, it bumped you up to 140, and then that eventually got up to 200. Either way, you're putting a similar amount of strength onto your bench press, right? You're probably then putting on a similar amount of muscle onto your frame doing that. And so I really think that it's not going to hurt you to try most of these supplements, but I'm really not a believer in most supplements. I usually tell clients, if you want to try them, if you think you're getting the benefit from them, that's totally fine. But realize that it's, at the end of the day, it's not going to make or break your physique or your goals. And I really do believe that if you had two identical twins doing the exact same thing over 10 years, and one of them had all the supplements that I had mentioned, the other ones didn't take any, maybe the twin taking the supplements would have gained a couple pounds more muscle. But other than that, I don't think it's going to make much of a difference. I actually think there are more health supplements out there that have been shown to have some effect. But even then, if you're talking about an increased lifespan, there's actually very limited data on that. So on the whole, I'm definitely not anti-supplement. I think they can be good. I think they can make you feel better about what you're doing, which can actually be one of the best benefits from it. If you are then buying these supplements and you're thinking, well, I just bought these supplements, so I really got to put them to good use, then that's great. And I think that's a huge reason why some people love supplements and why people think that they're so effective. You know, they've been kind of lazy. They say, you know what, I'm going to get back in the gym. I'm going to buy this, that, and the other supplement. And all of a sudden, well, I put this financial investment into it. I've really got it killed in the gym. They get great results and they think, man, it's so good I had that supplement. That really helped me. If that's what does it for you, then that's fine. But, you know, again, from a financial standpoint, just realize that it's not necessary to buy these. They can just, of course, supplement what you're doing.